The gCADPlus file that you see here is for a rural subdivision, and I'd like to use it to run through some of the editing options that are available when you have a polyline. If we look at this polyline, which represents a minor contour, it's on a layer called contour minor. It stretches down to the bottom, darts around, so there are a lot of vertices. Each one of these blue dots or handles is a vertex, and each vertex is numbered, and you can pick them when you select the line they appear. Now I'd suggest you wouldn't want to change the position of vertices in a contour, because that's come from another application, probably from a surveyor. Well, when a polyline is selected, it's well worth paying attention to the properties box on the left hand side of the gCADPlus interface. Polyline is selected, it tells me its colour, says line weight is being controlled by a layer. I can change if I want the type of curve fitting. I could set it up as a closed polyline. You wouldn't do that with a contour, and I could fill it. I could apply a border, change the border colour, and in this case, and I don't recommend it, transparency has been changed from 255, which is the default, no transparency, to 150, so roughly 60 or so % transparency. I can't see any advantage in doing that with a polyline. Let me just draw a polyline in this zone through here. We'll just pan across. I'll just draw a polyline. It's being drawn in the current colour, which is colour 92, and I'll close the polyline. When I pick the polyline, you can see there's its colour, line weight and so on. Its transparency is 255. Transparency can be important if you say this polyline is closed, yes. If it's filled, and I'll escape from there, and you see you've got a strong fill colour. If we pick it again and change that to 150, as the drafter had done for the polyline, you can see it's the green is lessened in intensity. So let's bring it back to 50 to make it more obvious. And if I wanted a border around it, I could say, yes, I'm going to have a border, and I'll set my border colour to something fairly distinctive, and now that patch of colour is enclosed within the polyline, so there's actually only one entity there that doesn't take up very much space. And in this design, these zones through here have been done in that way. Notice that as I click, because I have the one showing here in the properties box, if I change that to a plus sign, I can add areas, those polylines, and I can act on them in the properties box as a group. But the designer here has used polylines to delineate this ground surface area here, a zone in his plan for the allotment. Notice that no curve fitting has been applied. You might want to put some form of curve fitting on there to smooth things off, but it doesn't really require it in this instance. So the polyline here is set with a line weight of 0.5, and it's filled, and it doesn't have a border. In contrast to that, this polyline that runs through here is also closed. So let me zoom out, and you can see it runs around the homestead, but it's not been filled, and you may or may not want to edit it. This example here is a better one to edit, I think. Let's pick it. Can you see that the polyline here probably needs to butt close to that one, as has been done with this little angle here. And you see the designers put the fourth vertex in there on that line. So let's see how we would do that sort of thing. If you approach one of the vertices, right click and say insert a vertex, and you see that adds an extra vertex, and I can position it where I want it. And then I could pick this one up and move it using the near option like so. So I'm still in line with where I wanted to go. So now the vertex number 6 meets with the polyline that runs through here. There is some confusion among gCADPlus users about thickness of polylines, and it is a somewhat difficult concept to grasp. The polygon here, polygon shape, and this single polyline segment with only 2 vertices have been drawn in the current colour. I've put them on a layer called 00A test. The reason for that is to make it bubble to the top of the list. I can go into that layer, and the properties of both of those are set by layer, and I can say I want the line weight of those to set to, say, let's make it really big, and bingo, the lines appear to be thick. I'm going to reverse that back to, you notice just about every one of the layers here is just set to line weight by default. So we're talking there about line weight, the weight of a pen that's going to be used to draw those polylines. But it's also possible, only in the polyline entity, to change the actual width. I can select this one, and if I can come over here, where the width is set at star, I could change that and make that 1 meter wide. So that polyline, irrespective of the setting, the line weight setting, irrespective of that, it's going to be drawn 1,000 units wide. So we're implicitly setting the width of the polyline, has nothing to do with the line weight that we assign to the entity. So that can certainly create some confusion. In my view, keep things simple. When you're placing entities, just place them as we did here. We look at this, its color is set. You could even just go back to the default, which is, let's do color by layer, put it on whatever layer you want to nominate, or put it on layer 0. Line type's going to be inherited by the layer it's on, the scale and so on are all set. The border color is set at 251, but I'm going to say that there's no fill on there now, and certainly the transparency back to 255. So we're now operating in gCADPlus's default. And if I did want to plot that polygon with a thick line, if we look here, I just change the foreground color, which is currently the dark color. I'll just double click on that, and you see it's set at color 7, and the line weight is just by default, and you can change things then as you go. So color by layer, and of course because I'm set on layer 0, the drafter here let the color of layer 0 be red, so I'm going to turn it back to there. So now I'm operating, certainly as far as this particular polyline is concerned, in the gCADPlus default way. So draw everything and set everything up by default, and then change right at the end of your design processes the few things that you need to alter to get some emphasis.